want you to tell me a little bit more about what you started and give us a little background, how you got started in the sex business yourself and how you were basically managed to pull yourself out of it.
Right. Well, most folks don't understand that foster care ends at 18. You know, you see an abused child, you learn they went to foster care, and everyone's like, whoo, it's over. But even the foster kids don't know that at 18, the checks stop and they're left to their own devices, which is no money, no car, no parents, and they're on their own. So being in that circumstance myself after leaving care, I ended up on the streets, I ended up homeless, and I ended up a prostitute working the streets to survive.
I mean, it's a rough story, and your turning point, what was it that made you think, you know what, I have got to escape this life? What was your turning point, and how did you do it? Because I think a lot of women, a lot of young women, get to the point, but they just don't know how to get out.
Right, it wasn't that easy. I was almost killed by 2 gunmen one night that had picked me up on the street as a known prostitute, and they drove me to the woods with a gun and beat me until I screamed that they would kill me, and I was saved by a stranger. Wow. But I was beaten so badly that it was a turning point that was kind of forced on me. At that point, I was desperate for help.
And now,
it's unfortunate that it has to come to that.
Yeah, and now, and we have the 2 young ladies, and we're going to talk to you guys in a minute, but I mean, obviously, you have to look up to this woman here and what she's done. You're now a Fortune 100 executive.
That's right.
What a turnaround. Do you still sometimes wake up and say, what a turn of events for me?
Yeah, actually, I followed the path of some very successful people, and I also wrote the book, Punished for Purpose, which tells about my path out and the change I had taken, because I had started my first legal job at the age of 24, and my boss was 24. I was highly unsuccessful. She was highly successful, so I followed everything she was doing and a couple of other successful folks at the job, and I started it kind of like a fake it till you make it, and then when it started working, it was fabulous. So I kept on climbing the ranks up to the top.
And you're a foster parent, in a sense.
That's right. I've had 30. Yeah.
My goodness. I mean, what drives you to do that?
Well, I believe I met my family when I was 12 in that first group home, because I never bonded to my biological family. So those kids in the group home were my family. Wow. For all intents and purposes. So when I go home and my kids are there, that makes me feel home. So
tell me more about Teen Project, and I want to know what it's all about and why you decided to start this and why it was important to you.
When I found out that kids, I mean, believe it or not, I had 18 foster kids by the time I realized that kids are leaving at 18 to homelessness. 65% walk out with no money, no car, no parents. Are you kidding? In America? And they're 40% of our nation's homeless population at the time. 3% get to go to college. I mean, I was devastated. I called my best friend crying, and I said, Linda, we've got to do something. And I walked out bigger than I've ever done with anything in my life. And the Teen Project has created housing with college support, sober college housing, because our kids are genetically predisposed to getting involved in drugs because of their family. And then we have street outreach, a drop-in center in Venice Beach, and a national text home program where any kid in the nation can text shelter and their zip code to 99,000 and find a local shelter immediately. And we do all of this with 1 employee.
The good thing here is that you saw a problem that you lived through yourself and you decided, I'm going to solve it, and this is what you're doing. You have 2 of your success stories with you. We wanted to get to you, to both of the ladies here. Give us your name, and if whatever you could, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into the sex trade, and more importantly, how you were able to get yourself out.
Well, I'm Sandy, and I never really got into it, but I mean, I was an emancipated foster youth, and I live at the Teen Project home. Like Lori said, I mean, when we turn 18, we're set out on our own, and I was absolutely lost. How many 18-year-olds do you know that can do that?
Yeah, that's true.
And so with Lori's help and a lot of the help that we get with the volunteers, there's a lot of support and there's a lot of help. It helps you get through college, and, you know, in all honesty, I was absolutely lost before I came to the Teen Project. I knew I was going to college. I didn't know why, you know.
Yeah,
I found my major since then, and, you know, I'm going to school.
Major?
Criminal law.
Criminal law. Good for you. Good for you.
Excuse me. My name is Kaylee Woods. I don't live in the Teen Project, but I lived with Lori right when she started it, when she made that phone call to Linda and said, what is going on here?
Yeah.
You know, I was 16. I had nowhere to go. You know, she came to a group home and said, I want you to come live with me. I feel like you would be an excellent fit. I want you to come live with me. And, you know, from 16 to 18, it was like I relearned who I was, you know. I got to learn these these values and you know, love that I hadn't had from my parents.
Wow.
And yeah.
In such powerful stories, we don't need to tell you that. The book is Punished for a Purpose. Tell us a little bit more about what's in this book.
So I can throw it up like that.
Yeah,
so Punished for a Purpose is the path out for any parent that has a child that's addicted to drugs right now that they've tried to help repetitively and can't get to, because this book speaks from the mind of a child in the beginning. And then anyone who's at the bottom trying to get back up, I go through all of the therapy and all of the success traits that I followed, and so that you don't have to find your own 13 angels and teachers like I did, and you don't have to find your own person to follow, because it's all documented here in the book, how to go from the bottom to the top. And let me back up 1 minute and tell you that Kaylee here testified against her abuser, who got 126 years in prison. So these girls have gone through more than you could possibly imagine. And I wrote this book. It took me 3 years to get through everything I'd been through and the path out. And 75% of the proceeds go to the kids on the street.
That's outstanding. Lori Burns, you're setting a fine example for these young ladies and a lot of others as well. We thank you, and thank both of you. Bright futures ahead, I'm sure, for both of you. Thanks for coming out and sharing your stories with us. To learn more about Lori, her book, and organization, the Teen Project, you can log on to our website, fox5sandiego.com, and then click the Scene on Tap. Ladies, again,
thank you.